So moving on to the next session, it is an extremely informative one on the topic of cybersecurity for Industry 4.0 IIoT. 5 minutes. That is the average amount of time it takes for an average IoT device to be attacked once connected to the internet, according to NESSCOUT's Threat Intelligence Report. Now that businesses are warming up to Industrial Internet of Things, IIoT devices to make smart factories, a reality we have to face of questions of data safety and security. Keeping this in mind, this session explores how major industries can maintain resilience and protect their assets from cyber criminals while moving to the IIoT world. For more insights on this subject, please join me in welcoming our next keynote speaker, Viral Trivedi. Viral Trivedi, Chief Business Officer at Ampius Cyber Inc.
Hello? Okay, it's working. Thank you, Jackie, and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Viral Trivedi, and I am the Chief Business and Solutions Officer for Ampius Cyber, a Chantilly-based organization that focuses on cybersecurity for both IT as well as industrial organizations. Before we get into the details of what are some of the cybersecurity strategies one should employ for an industrial environment, I want some common basics that needs to be understood. There is no such thing as 100% security. Everything that is connected is hackable. Everything that is brought online, either it's a computer, a mobile phone, or an industrial IoT device, it is hackable. Remember that. If it is vulnerable, it will be attacked. That's for sure. And last but not least, I want to focus on the third important message. But before I do so, I would request if you can stand where your seats are, if you don't mind, please. And now I would like to request you to check under your seats, as one of my team members has put some envelope with some surprise in there. Did you find anything? No. You can stop here. It was a test. The third point is trust. We trust anything and anything that a technologist standing on this stadium can say, and you'll believe me, right? That's the reason. That's how hackers get to you. They will send you an email and give you, hey, there's a $100 gift card. Click on this link. And guess what? You're giving them keys to the kingdom. That is exactly what happens. That's normal. We all are humans. Attackers use human cognitive biases to get to us and to get into our systems. It could be an authoritative bias. Oh, a boss sends an email during Christmas time, go buy me 15 Amazon gift cards, I need to send it to all my employees. Are you really checking if that email is really from the boss, or you just clicked on it, you went and bought it, and you send an email back to the boss with 15 different gift cards, and now you're out of $1,500? That is the problem. Attackers are going to use your cognitive biases to get to you. Just like I tested everyone in this, I think 80% of you stood up and looked under the desk, right? Because you thought that, okay, there is something in there. So that's a curiosity bias. So those are the things I want to focus. So it is very, very important. And if you can't take anything out of this session today, remember one thing. You as a human, people are the most vulnerable, and you are the most responsible to make sure that you are going to protect the environment that you work in. Either it's in your house or at your workplace or no matter where you are. So please remember, people are the important key to protect from cybersecurity attacks. So coming to the topic of industrial IoT, according to Department of Homeland Security, these are the 16 sectors that are considered as critical infrastructure or has some form of industrial control system in there. Anybody here from any industrial type of organizations that are listed here? Can someone just shout out which industry? Okay. Okay, great, great. So all of these systems, and thank you for your answers, all of these systems, there is some level of industrial control system involved in there. We are going to go back in a little bit of history of what industrial control system is made up of. A PLC, which was a 1970 technology, which was basically is known as programmable logic controllers. Believe me or not, there is a PLC in everybody's home today, even if it's a rented apartment or a single family house or a studio. And what is that PLC? It's sitting right by your heater or HVAC system, and there is an HMI, which is a human machine interface, which is your thermostat. Back in the days, they were wire physically connected to your HVAC system. You would change the temperature and things would go. Move forward, in 1992, PLC got introduced to TCP/IP, which is the Internet Connecting Protocol used for connectivity all across the digital world. And then in 2000, we got web consoles to control these PLCs, which means somebody's sitting 200 kilometers or miles away and managing a factory or a power plant, which is a nuclear power plant, which is somewhere hidden across the United States. So that's where the web consoles came into automated remote PLC computers. Why I'm focusing on this history is because you need to understand that these are the devices that are most vulnerable. These devices, even in 1970 or even 2000, were not built with security in mind. So if these devices today get connected to the internet with the upbringing of industrial IoT or cloud-based applications, these devices will be soon attacked, and your environment can be taken control by some attack, by a bad actor or an attacker. So what are some other components? I'm going to quickly go over these. A distributed control system is a group of control systems that can manage all these different factories. So you don't have one PLC that's being managed by one person. There are multiple different systems that get built. That's why it's called a distributed control system. And they're made up of multiple different sublayers in a factory floor. Another system that is included in the industrial control system is a SCADA environment, which is a supervisory control and data recovery, data access system, which allows you to collect information from these systems. So this is a high-level operational diagram that I want to focus on where the communication flows. So at the bottom, you see, is where your sensors, your controllers are sitting. And all the way on the top is that human-machine interface, the web interface that I was talking about, the web console that people are using to control those devices at the bottom. In between, there is DCS, there's SCADA, and so on, all these other remote diagnostics and maintenance issues. So let's come to why these environments are now going to be susceptible to attacks. Because we have started seeing that these environments, smart factories, factory floors, power plants, all these environments are now getting connected with IoT sensors so that the data can be collected from these environments and sent back to the IT environment for analytics. We heard so much about AI. We heard so much about data science. This is where it's being applicable, where you take data from the machines, the PLCs, from the conveyor belts, from the power plants. You analyze and see and provide predictive analysis to say that, okay, this factory floor conveyor belt is going to break down in 3 months if you don't do something about it, because the data that is sending and our software in the IT side or the cloud is telling us that this is what's going to happen. This is fantastic. Industrial IoT and cloud adoption in the industrial facilities has become a very important thing because it helps you save money, it makes you more efficient, and it also helps you learn and grow and come up with different innovative solutions. But that brings the challenge of cybersecurity. An environment that was set aside was siloed for decades without any security controls built into it, as we spoke about before, is now suddenly going to get connected to the IT side of the cloud environment. So that's why there you see a demarcation point with the orange line. On the left is your IT environment. It could be your corporate offices or data centers, or it could be a cloud-based environment, or it could be any type of edge environment, which is just saying, hey, I'm a vendor, software vendor, that I provide analytics about your OT environment or industrial environment. Please come and work with us. So it could be any of those. But this opens up to multiple different attack vectors. And as you see, that those attack vectors could be remote employees accessing the control environment. It could be anybody from the corporate side accessing an email which was compromised, and they have a malware which now can traverse into the industrial environment. So these challenges are extremely important for us to understand as we go into the future of connectivity of industrial environment into IT environment. So why is this a problem? As we all know, in May 2021, we saw a big major breach from JBS, the meat processing company. This was just last month. They were attacked, and it was fully under control. They had to shut down the plant. Another attack that happened in May 2021, Colonial Pipeline, everybody knows about this, which was just a month, 8 weeks, around 6 to 8 weeks ago, where the pipeline was completely shut down and there was chaos. Prior to that, in March, there was another Indian computer engineering response team found that the Chinese hackers were trying to control the transportation systems of India. And then in September of 2020, a shipping company was attacked. So as you see, these are all industrial environments. Why do they get suddenly attacked, and why? It has been connected for decades, but sooner or later, these organizations have somehow connected themselves to the IT environment, and they have opened themselves to be vulnerable. And that is the reason we need to focus on the security aspects and certain steps on how to protect those environments. So before we go into how, I want to explain to you that what are the main key differences between the industrial side and the IT side. On the left, you'll see the 7-layer TCP/IP stack, which basically talks the languages and the protocols that are being used to communicate from your browser or from your application, from your mobile phones. So that is the language that we use. But on the industrial side, the protocols are completely different. They don't talk the same language. And that is very important to understand, because if you try to solve the industrial problems using the IT tools, you're going to cause a disaster. So this is the reason this understanding of two different worlds is very important. So why securing the industrial control systems the IT way is a bad idea? Well, first of all, there are some device-related restrictions. These devices and PLCs that I mentioned before, they're extremely fragile. They're extremely sensitive. So if you use IT tools such as a ping sweep or a Nessa scan, it can bring down the whole factory. The second thing, as we mentioned, the protocols that these environments use are completely different than what we use in IT. The third thing is that if something goes wrong in an industrial environment, it's not your data that is getting compromised, but you are really impacting the lives and the safety of the people working in those industrial environments. So you cannot just say that, oh, I want to go shut down a plant, and you don't know what's going on because you want to do an IT maintenance in there. And the last thing, that the runtime and the uptime requirements of these environments extremely sensitive, because you can't just decide one day that, okay, I want to do a 2-hour maintenance window at an industrial facility. And that is what I'm going to do. But no, you can't do that, because production environments have to be run at a certain time, because production has to keep going on and on. So the uptime and runtime requirements are extremely high. So you cannot just plan that I have a maintenance window for IT, just like IT server maintenance window in data centers or cloud happen. So that's why it's very important to understand that securing the industrial environments, utilizing the IT tools and methodologies is not going to work. So what is going to work? In order for us to secure the both IT and OT environments, on the left you will see the industrial environments where there's PLCs, engineering workstations, HMIs, and the distributed control systems that I shared before. So there are mechanisms and solutions to protect those environments. But the key piece in there is humans. You have to train your plant operators or your employees working in those, in those environments to be having a good culture of cybersecurity. I personally have been on many power plants and on shipping containers and shipping boats. Many people leave their passwords to the bridge connecting to the engine room wide open. So the culture of those 10 or 15 people working in those environments, to have them understand the importance of cyber hygiene is very important. They will come and say, well, but I have to make sure that the plant keeps running. I'm here for my 8-hour shift, that's what I'm gonna do. But then you have to learn to explain them that we are not doing this just to protect the brand or the data, but we are doing this to protect them and their safety in case there's a breach. There have been breaches where it had impact, there could have been a major impact on people's lives. I don't know if many of you know, but in Florida, a few months back, a water plant was hacked. And somebody tried to change the composition of chemicals in there, and that could have impacted 80,000 people in that township. So having that understanding of what kind of impact a cyber attack in an industrial facility or an environment will cause is going to be very important. So on the right side, you will see all the security controls. I know it's very small right now. I can discuss all the controls that you need to put in place for IT side when you're connecting to the OT environment after the session. But this is a good idea. If you want to take a picture, please feel free to do so. But there are so many different types of controls that you can place into the environment: technology controls, people controls, processes, policies. And I'm going to come into those steps briefly in a moment, which is right there. So if you look at the steps that someone needs to perform in order to secure an industrial environment or an industrial environment that is getting connected to the internet or exploring industrial IoT solutions, I would highly recommend to follow these steps. The first, have a good understanding and a visibility of your environment, which means perform asset inventory, have a good understanding of all your hardware and software. Do understand if you can manage them in some way or form. That will help you from configuration vulnerabilities, that will help you from platform and hardware related vulnerabilities. There are many of these devices that, like I said, they're not built with security built as a part of the production environment. It was shipped into your facility. So you will have a good understanding that, okay, if it's a Siemens PLC or a Honeywell or a Rockwell or Allen Bradley, you will be able to understand that, okay, these are the different pieces of inventories that we have, so that if we do have some kind of a security issue, where to go look for. Define your policies and procedures for these environments. Now, this should include your IT and your industrial environments. Another term for industrial control systems is also called OT, which is operational technology. So both these organizations should have common cybersecurity policies and procedures. You should be able to have a proper configuration sets for each of these environments, even if you're not connecting to the internet. So in case there is some kind of a breach at IT level, you are prepared for some sort of activity that could impact the industrial facility. Make sure your architecture and your design is done properly. I've seen many, many organizations who have flat networks when you look into their industrial facilities, because again, they never had the thought in their mind that they're going to ever connect this to the internet. So they still keep things as is. 40 years, same network, same device, they still even use Windows 95 and Windows NT, and I'm not kidding. I've seen many, many facilities where they still use those environments. Make sure you have a good understanding of what's going on in these devices. That implementing logging and monitoring solutions, there are around 22 to 25 different vendors, solutions that are available to monitor those environments in a passive manner. You cannot use the IT tools such as Splunk or some kind of a SIM solution to collect those logs, because they are active solutions. There has to be a solution which is passively collecting data, and therefore you should implement logging and monitoring specific to that environment. And last two, the most important one is that always be prepared. Have a good incident response playbook for your industrial or even an IT environment. I'm sure everybody has that in an IT environment, but make sure you include your industrial facilities also into that playbook. And the last but not least is the continuous security awareness training. Individuals need to be focused and trained to be aware of what are the different attack vectors that can destroy a plant or cause major damage or even cause loss of life. So having that good understanding of training on a cyber hygiene is very, very important. That's where I'll end, and I'll take some questions. Thank you very much for this, and looking forward to talk to you more after the session, but I'm here open for any questions, please.